Everyone is a damn liar, including you. Everyone lies at New Year's when they set resolutions for themselves, including me. And this episode was inspired by two people that we know who made resolutions, detailed plans for those resolutions, and have already failed. And that's okay, because it happens to all of us, no big deal. However, Jay doesn't lie to himself or others because he makes this loose plan of what to do with his life. And so this year, I didn't want to lie to myself either. And I decided to make a loose plan similar to Jay's, where I tweaked parts of my life that I wasn't happy with. But I did not make resolutions because I'm tired of lying to myself and others. So stay till the end to find out how we can stop lying to ourselves, still learn new skills, and set resolutions. So Jay, I said everyone is a liar. So surely not everyone is lying to themselves about what they want. And if they are, how can we tell?
Yeah, it's a good question. And do you think you could find someone who has never lied to themselves or anyone else since birth?
No. Everybody.
Especially in our past.
Yes.
You might reach a point where you no longer lie to yourself. But what about all those years before?
Oh, no. Well, I spent them lying.
Yeah. So if we can't find a single human who has been lie-free since birth, then what does that mean about everyone?
Well, then my intro was right. Everyone is a liar.
Kinda. It depends on your definition of lying. But since birth, I'm pretty sure if I filmed everyone's lives, I could find a lie.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, we learn it from our parents who lie to us about, the tooth fairy and Santa Claus and more and deeper things, of course. But it starts like this for most people. And so if we learn from our parents, then I guess it feels normal.
Exactly. And how many people say, I want this, or I want that, or I swear I'll never tip. And then when they get into a big corporate job and a career and now they're tipping, and they could say, I changed my mind. And it's like, that would be fine. You can change your mind if you weren't claiming permanently and for all time that you hate tipping and you'll never tip, right?
Right.
Now you're making a proclamation that people will hold you accountable to.
Right. Yes.
Why did you say that? Why not say, I'm 90% sure I'm not going to tip. I'm not a big fan of tipping at the present, but I reserve the right to change my mind. Why be so be-all, end-all firm with our statements? Because if we do that, they're going to turn out to be a lie.
Well, if you're declaring, I'm not a tipper, I'm never going to tip, I'm never ever, in the moment they believe that, right? In the moment they feel it deep in their soul that they're they're not going to tip. But how do they, but how do you know if you feel it in the moment and you really believe it, but it's not, is it really a lie if in that moment you believe it?
Well, that's what I said. Depends on your definition of lying.
Right.
But it's going to cause you problems in the future.
Yeah.
And people are going to call you out on what you said back then and how you've changed now. So does it matter how strongly you feel it? If you use definitive language?
So I had this issue with my mother when you and I split, right? So I said I wanted to go back to the States. And so in the moment I said it, I meant it. I felt it and I meant it. And then the moment that I had the opportunity to go, I was like, maybe not so much now. I changed my
How does
mind.
anyone not see that as a bold-faced lie?
Right. And so when we talked again and I kind of put her off about leaving and stuff, and I was like, well, I haven't decided. And she's like, what? You said clearly that you wanted to come back. And so I didn't feel like I had told a lie because I felt like I just changed my mind. What's a lie?
But you can feel how you want. The rest of the world is now bending to your will. They're booking flights and getting passports and making room in their space.
I know.
So just because your feelings changed and you didn't feel like it was a lie and you didn't feel like you changed your mind, it's still a lie to everyone else.
I know.
And you know what it's like, because when you raise a child, the child will often tell you something in the moment that they feel is true and then change their mind a week from now.
Yes. They do it all the time.
You see that as your child lying or not? I mean, you're out the money and now you sign them up for courses and...
Yeah, that's hard. That also happened with me and my mom too.
What happened? The point is, when people proclaim X Y, or Z strongly and firmly in definitive language to others, and then they go do A, B, and C, the opposite,
Right.
everyone else is confused and stunned and can only view that as a lie.
Right.
And you couldn't really blame them because you would do the same thing in their shoes. If someone told you X, Y, and Z definitively, and then they did A, B, and C, you would be livid and you would feel lied to.
Okay.
So it can't be a lie when other people do it to you and you get mad about it and you're like, you lied to me. But then when you do it to someone else, it's just changing your mind.
Okay. So then we'll just use the example of me going back to Florida, right? So how do I, in that case, we had broken up. I was so sad and I just wanted to be around my family. And so in that moment, I said I wanted to do something that deep down I really didn't want to do. How should I handle that then without lying to them?
Well, it's as simple as saying, I feel so sad, I might like to go back home. Instead of, I want to go back home now.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
One phrase is, I feel like considering going home, and no one will rearrange their life. They won't jump and snap and get passports for you. They'll say, oh, are you serious? Or whatever. They'll ask questions. They'll be chill because you said, I feel like I'm thinking about it.
Okay, so I'm going to interject for a second because my mom has experience with this. This is not the first time. I'm embarrassed to say that. And so she said, are you sure?
Okay.
I'm going to make room and you're going to come here. You're positive.
Right. So smart of her to check if her lying daughter is going to deliver this time.
And then I said, I'm sure.
Yeah. But why?
I'm laughing, but I'm embarrassed. So
well, whatever. I'm saying, you're just like the child. We're raising the child. Are you sure you want contact lenses? Yeah, I'm sure I want them. You're going to put them in and wear them? Promise. You lied.
Okay.
Right?
Yes, it was a lie.
I've done that.
Yeah. And just to be clear, I have apologized since to her and we talked it out and worked out. I didn't want to put that out there for the audience. So, but yeah, it was a lie and I've done it multiple times to her. I've even gone as far as, and this was at a time where I was really spoiled and a very hateful person many years ago before I even had kids, which that's how long ago it was, where she got an apartment for me in a different city, in a different state, and was ready to help me move across the country. And at the last minute, I was like, oh, I changed my mind.
Yeah. I mean,
I'm sorry, Mom.
It's whatever. Like, why do we have different language? Why do we have the phrase, I'm thinking about X, or I'm feeling like Y, or I'm definitely doing Z? Like, why do we have I'm feeling, I'm thinking, and I'm definitely doing? Why do we have these three different sentences that any adult can use to convey their message, their intent?
Well, so we can decide which level of honesty or what we're going to do.
Yeah, and so people don't get confused and we don't end up lying.
Yes. So
if you don't want to end up lying, if you're just feeling strongly, you should probably tell people you're just feeling strongly. Yeah. If you're intending to do something no matter what, hell or high water, even if death may come, then you should tell them, I'm definitely doing this or die trying. Like, that's why we have different words to communicate different things. And if you use the correct words, you won't be caught in a lie.
True. Well, I guess at the time I was super emotional and it wasn't really a good idea to make any life decisions, period, after making one ginormous life decision. Like, I made a huge life decision. I changed everything.
And took a break and got clear, right?
Yes.
Or did you immediately book flights and stuff?
No, because I didn't have my passport. I was waiting for it to arrive with the renewal.
Okay, but if you had it,
I probably would have booked a flight and then bailed.
Right.
So this is good because I have lied a lot in my life, and people might be watching and judging or listening and judging and being like, oh my God, I was a very not nice person for a really long time in my life. And I've been trying to heal that for the last 5 years and seeing where I still have to go. Like, I never even had this thought when we started this podcast, this episode at all. Right. And just to go back and think about this was only last June, 6 months ago, 8 months ago, whatever. I don't know. I'm not doing the math. So it wasn't that long ago. And so if I don't want to be lying at all, especially to someone who I care about and who has jumped through hoops for me a million times in my life. So yeah, that feels really bad. I feel really bad about having told lies like this, because honestly, between us, I didn't consider that a lie. I never thought of it as being a lie. I genuinely thought of it as I changed my mind. Same like when I was getting a divorce. You don't want to be married. You're going to break your vows and break up our family. No, I just changed my mind.
Yeah, but all it comes down to is, did you say I'm definitely doing something to someone else?
Yeah.
Because if you did, you're on the hook for that now. Yeah. That's on you. Or did you say I'm feeling like doing something, or I'm thinking of doing something, or I'm considering doing something?
I said definitely.
This is why language exists. You should speak what you mean. If you want strawberries, don't tell people bananas. They will get upset.
Yes.
If you are planning to move and you're fully set on doing it, then say so. When we were thinking of moving to LA, I didn't tell Meg we're definitely moving. I said, Meg, a lot of our clients are over there right now, and we're definitely talking about it.
Yeah.
There's discussions going on.
Right.
And then later she asked, so how's the LA thing going? And I said, oh, actually, we're off that now. We're pivoting the business. We're doing something different. Yada, yada, yada. She's not upset. She doesn't feel lied to. She's like, yeah, you told me you were thinking about it. You told me you were talking about it, but you didn't tell me you were packed and moving. So
yeah,
cool.
Yeah.
But if you say, I'm breaking up with this guy, I hate him, and I want to come home now, you're accountable for that.
Yeah, you're 100% right. And there have been times over the course of my life where I have used that language with my mom and said, I'm thinking of doing XYZ. I'm thinking of doing blah, blah, blah. I feel like I might want to do this.
Smart.
And there were times, and then later on, she would check in with me and ask what was happening with, just like Meg did. And then I'd say, well, I changed our mind. Or even like the LA thing where I talked to the kids about it. I was like, we're only talking about it, looking at it. That's it. And so they weren't disappointed when I said, no, we're not doing that because we pivoted our business and we're doing something else. They were like, oh, okay.
Yeah. Same if you use the words always or never. I'll never lie to you. Yes. And then you lie to someone once and they're upset. And you're like, well, it's just one lie or whatever. And it's like, but you said never.
Yeah.
Why did you say never instead of I'll do my best not to lie to you, or I'll keep a high track record of honesty, or I'll be one of the most honest people you know? Like, why the never? Right?
Right.
You get what I'm saying?
Yeah. And this was an interesting part of our relationship, actually, because you, as a guy, I didn't know this until we met, until I started learning from you, that men, when they say something to them, it's like this, like
word is bond.
Yeah, your word is bond. And not all men, you guys, I know, but we're going to talk about the good ones.
High integrity men.
High integrity men. That's what we're attracting. So that's what we're talking about. So high integrity men will say, I will be there and I will do this, and they do it. But I hadn't been around high integrity people at all for many years. And I was around people who never kept their words to themselves, let alone other people, even if they had the desire and had a good heart anyway. So when I met you and I learned, like, wait a minute, you do what you say? What? But yeah, there are people out there. And so I want to be that type of person. And so one of the tweaks that I've made to my resolutions is to be more honest with myself and with you.
And that's amazing. And it brings me to the second part of why everyone lies to themselves. Because it's not just about the language we convey and communicate to others. It's also about knowing ourselves. Does what we know about ourselves or what we want change? Does what we want change moment to moment?
Yes.
Right. Yes. Sometimes we want to be hot, then we want to be cold. Mm-hmm. Then we want to be bored, then we want to be interested.
Yes.
Okay, so what we want changes.
Yes.
So what if someone's not really in tune with themselves and their wants, and they say they want the heater on, and then an hour or two later, they're yelling at you because it's too hot in the place? What had happened?
Well, they didn't admit that their things changed, that their desires changed to themselves or to you.
Right. They buried their new want.
Yeah.
They wanted to be cooler now.
Yes.
But they didn't tell themselves.
Right.
And they didn't tell you, and they just stayed over in the heat and then blew up at somebody.
Yes.
They're lying to themselves about what they want.
Right.
And they're lying to others about what they want. Others thought they wanted the heater on.
And they did when they asked for it.
Right. But their want changed.
Right.
But then they didn't notify anybody.
Right.
So if we don't know what we want moment to moment, what are we automatically going to do to others?
Why? I mean, oh man. Okay. We're only in question one, y'all.
I know. And I'm saying, like, I make it a point to know what I want.
Yeah.
Do you know why?
So you don't lie?
Yes. So I can communicate exactly what I want. If I want alone time, I communicate that. If I want food, I communicate that. If I want peace and harmony, I communicate that. If my priority is X, Y, or Z, I communicate that. I meditate and tune into myself to find out what I want. And I'm not perfect at it. Sometimes I might want to change positions, or I'm not in tune with my own body or something. And so then I end up being a little crunchy with somebody else. And it's like, that didn't have to happen. They thought I was fine, but I was lying to them and myself that I was fine. I actually wanted to shift positions.
Right.
I should have just spoken up, and then no lies would happen. I wouldn't be lying to myself, and I wouldn't be lying to them.
True.
But how often do people do this? How often do people know themselves and their wants? And then once they know them, how good are they at communicating them to others? And if most people suck at this stuff, what are they going to end up doing?
Lying.
Yeah. So most people are damn liars, and like a huge percent of the time, because they either don't know themselves well enough to know what they want, or they do and then hide it and bury it and don't communicate it, or they communicate it in a very lying way with incorrect words that communicate the totally wrong thing.
Right. Yeah.
And then when they're all done with all the lying and someone calls them out on their lies, they'll be like, I was just changing my mind. You're super sensitive.
Yeah, I've done that. I literally have said those words.
But it was never the person's fault.
No.
It was always the original liar's fault.
Okay. So then I have a follow-up question. So again, using the example with me and my mom, I lied. I said the thing. Then I have to tell her I changed my mind. What do I say? Do I just apologize before I even say, like, I changed my mind? Do I just say, I'm sorry that I lied to you, that I wanted to go? Like, what? How do I handle that after the fact?
Well, first of all, ideally, you're never getting in that situation in the first place.
No, right.
This is kind of like saying, I just murdered someone and I have blood all over my hands. So what am I supposed to do now?
Okay.
And it's like, well, maybe don't murder people is a better tactic here.
I get it.
But if you do end up in that situation of I've lied to someone, worst case, yeah, you got the answer right. You just own it. You just own it. I lied. I did not know what I wanted. I was out of tune with myself. I was over emotional. I used the wrong language. I told you I was firmly doing something when really I was just thinking about it because I was angry. And I didn't tell you that. And now I've confused you. And I'm sorry. And I'm going to do better. I'm making changes. I'm going to tune into what I want, and I'm going to communicate my needs and wants properly. And I'm going to use appropriate language, and I'm not going to steer you wrong or lie to you again. And you got to own that. Like, the whole point is to live a high integrity life where you're not lying left and right, and you don't have to do these weird apologies. This is what I do. I'm just upfront and honest about what I like and what I am and what I want and what my boundaries are. And that way I never have to worry about defending lies or apologizing for lies or remembering what lies I told or whatever. Yeah. The point is, the more you know yourself and the better you communicate to others, the better your life is, period. And if you do it really well, you'll never have to apologize for that kind of lie or changing your mind.
And by the way, the reason I asked that question is because I thought maybe someone's already said the lie and now they saw our episode and they're in the middle of it. So I've already said the lie. So now what do I do? So that's why I asked. And yes, ideally, we don't even want to put ourselves into that position and using the proper language. And it's so good for me because I will be really paying attention to I think I definitely want when I speak this out, because there are times that I think about this, but it's more of a logical thing versus a lying thing, because I know how I feel comes across when you're trying to be logical and have a proper argument. So
yeah, but sometimes you do just feel. Yeah. So then you need to communicate that. The whole point is to communicate the truth of you.
Yeah. And
we have more than enough words in the English language to do that.
Agreed. But you have to be able to know inside what you want to communicate that. And so maybe all of us, me definitely, can, before I express a want or a desire to somebody, maybe I could ask myself, like, if I'm sure this is something that I want, especially, not what's for dinner kind of thing, even with that, but like, I mean, important things like moving to another country, upsetting your entire family's life so you can come in and change everything, right?
Quitting a job, starting a business, changing your daily schedule. Do you really want this? What do you want?
That's good. Thank you so much. So why do most people know when someone's lying when it comes to New Year's resolutions, but not when it's other things?
Yeah, good question. And first of all, isn't it easier to spot something when you're looking for it?
Ooh.
Like if you go on the street and look for red cars, suddenly you can spot a lot of them.
Yeah, that's called the
Reticular activation
thingy.
something.
Yeah.
Yeah. The point is, if you're looking for lies, you're going to have a much easier time spotting them. Out of the whole year, what time or event would you most likely be looking for lies?
New Year's.
Yeah. So everybody's just looking to spot them anyway.
Right. Okay.
Secondly, even nice, kind, normal people who might keep to themselves are pressured to do what around New Year's?
Resolutions.
Yeah. They're pressured to proclaim what?
Their New Year's resolution.
Yeah.
I've even had strangers ask me this.
Sure. And maybe normally they wouldn't lie to people. They would just think to themselves, I hope things are different this year. But someone socially pressures them into spitting out a declaration. What is your resolution this year? It's to work out this year. And they weren't even on that track, right? Like they weren't considering it or they weren't committed to it. They were just vibing it out. And then someone asked and they blurted out, what?
The first thing.
A lie. Yeah. They blurted out a lie. So what's going to be more common around New Year's?
More lies.
Yeah. So everyone's looking for them.
Right.
Like, I'm sure I can spot somebody who's going to lie about the resolution. I don't know who I should believe. And like people, none of those people believe this stuff. They're looking for them. And there's way more people just blurting out lies than usual. And then third, what do people project when they're talking to others?
They're whatever's going on with them. Like,
so if they have a long history of keeping their word, what do they expect other people to do with their resolutions?
To keep their word.
But if they have a long history of not keeping their word, what do they expect other people to do with their resolutions? So you kind of see in others what you are.
That's very interesting because I can spot a lie a mile away and they don't even almost have to not say anything.
But then if we tested you, would you be 100% right? Or would you start seeing lies where honest people were? Like, because you have such a history of lying, would you start to see them where they aren't? And be sure. And you would be like, no, they are definitely lying. But then if we tested in a science lab or something, it turned out, no, they weren't. You just see that.
Yeah, that'd be interesting experience or experiment because I am very good at this, but I'm also very good at lying.
So you might be overboard.
So it might be, yeah. I always like push it off onto being a Libra, right? So like very open with my energy with other people and I take theirs on. And so I can generally feel the lie. I don't even have to, that's why I said like, you don't even have to talk, not you, but the person in whoever I'm talking to, I can even spot lies through videos and texts.
I'm not saying you can't or that you don't have a good intuition.
Well, no, that's not what I'm saying either. I'm saying that because I have learned to be such a good liar, this may be why instead of what I assumed was the reason before. And you said the word project. So maybe that's my issue. It's that I projected onto other people that because there was many years I went through not trusting anybody, not believing anything anybody said. And so this makes a lot of sense what you just said. So yeah, wow. It's very eye-opening for me. The audience may not care, but for me, I'm like, okay, this is something I really have to look at then. If I project my own lying skills onto other people. And I would wonder, like, I used to, like how you were just saying, like, oh, they're lying. I know they're lying. I used to behave like that. I used to be very intense about it. Now less so, unless I really know that, like, I know it's a lie. So anyway, this is very helpful for me. And if you are watching or listening and you feel like you're surrounded by people who lie a lot or you're lied to often by people, then maybe it's an opportunity for you and me to look at how much we lie, how much you lie. Yeah, because maybe that's the problem more than the people around us.
Yeah, maybe they're not even lying.
Yeah.
Maybe you just project that onto them. It's possible. So
anything is possible.
You've got to sort it out, right?
Right.
Is everyone around you just a damn liar? Or are you projecting? Or is it half and half? You got to figure it out.
Yeah. All right. Oh, this is more helpful, wonderful things. Thank you. Okay, so to go back to my example with me and my mother, I was lying about what I wanted to her without knowing. And I've done this before, lied to myself, and lots of people lie about what they want, not realizing it in the moment. Why do we do this?
That is a super good question. And there's probably some study out there that claims they know why people do this or whatever, but I've given it a ton of thought over the years. And I believe it's because we only have one word for no. I know this, or one word for want, or actually there are many other words, but people are raised on these two words and it's the only ones they use. I want X, I know Y, etc. But the truth is there are levels of knowledge. So when people think I know what I want, or I know I want to work out, most of the time they're at the very first level of knowledge. It's not a real knowing. They don't really know what they want. But to them, it's all the same. I know what I want. But I would say that the first level of knowledge is an intellectual knowing. I know intellectually I want this or want that. But if I take a person who knows they want to work out intellectually, and I put them next to a person who knows they want to work out experientially or practically or embodying it, you're going to see two very different people, like two very different levels of knowledge. One is ready to talk about it and think about it and do mental things about it and study it and post about it on Reddit. The other one is ready to wake up and get to the gym. Like, they can't wait. They will rearrange their life to be there.
Right.
But they both know they want to work out, and they will both tell you that in words. I know I want to work out. But those are different levels of knowing.
Right.
But they're using the same word.
So then how do we know?
Well, you can tell, right? Can't you tell whether you're the person who's getting in the gym and knows it experientially and practically, or if you're the intellectual person considering getting to the gym for your New Year's resolution?
Those people who are considering going to the gym and doing the research and learning about this and learning about that and not doing the things, these are the people that are afraid to make the change and who have no results.
Yeah, results tell you. Eventually, results speak.
Right.
So to me, I've broken it down into 5 levels of knowing. It's just a ballpark, but there's intellectual knowing, where you know of something. I know of it. I'm considering it. I'm thinking around it. It's an intellectual knowing. But when you talk, it might sound like you really want it and you really know it and you're really into it and you're really doing it. Tons of wannabe entrepreneurs or wannabe anythings talk like this. They'll talk a big game and it'll sound like they know it. When we met, you knew marketing and you acted like you knew it and you talked like you knew it. And if I don't understand levels of knowledge, I'll get tricked.
Yeah.
And I'll be like, she knows marketing. I'm going to do whatever. Here's my marketing budget. Go to town.
Yeah.
But you would be a different level of knowing than an actual 30-year marketer, a marketing veteran who has marketed for many companies and has a huge track record, and they've got the experience and the practice, and they wake up to eat, sleep, and breathe marketing. And if you try to get them to stop, they wouldn't. They're like, it's my favorite thing. These are 2 different levels of knowing. But if I talk to both of them, they'll both say, oh yeah, I know marketing.
Yeah, that's true.
But no is different in both cases.
Yeah. Okay. So see, now it makes sense to me what you were saying about the word no. Like your example is just now more amazing. And yeah, I had a degree in marketing when we met, and that was it.
Yep.
I went from marketing, getting that degree in marketing, to teaching. And I didn't work as a marketer one day. I could not get a job in my town as a marketer. So I pivoted and became a teacher instead. So yeah, you're right. You're right. So, okay, I didn't mean to interrupt you. I'm sorry.
No, I just should finish my levels of knowledge. Yeah. There's experiential, where you have experienced it. You have a proven track record.
Right.
And most people prefer the person with the proven track record over the person who intellectually knows something.
Right.
So it's a better level of knowledge. But even that's not very good, because if you've had a lot of bad experiences, you'll pick up a lot of bad habits and you'll get jaded and cynical, and your experience knowledge will be crap. Right. Like, you'll just be like, oh, marketing sucks. It doesn't work. I hate that field. Even though you've gone beyond intellectual knowledge and you have experiential knowledge, it's been bad experiences.
Yes.
So it's bad knowledge.
Yeah.
And now, even though marketing can run the world or help people make tons of money and thrive, you're all like, now it's the worst thing ever. It's like, all right, but to step above the other knowledge, like at least they've been in the trenches and they know something.
Yes.
They know more than the intellectual do.
Yeah.
So then there's the third level, which is embodying the knowledge. When you embody the knowledge, you know it so well, you teach it to others just by example, like just by role model, or you might actually teach it to others. But the point is, you know marketing so well, it's in you, it's in your blood. You're not jaded like the experiential guy, and you're not relying on just experience anyways. You're relying on something deeper, like a deep cellular knowledge of this topic. And anyone being around you will just, there's a high chance they'll pick it up and get the hang of it.
Like having a binder.
Yeah. Or like hanging around Bruce Lee.
Yeah.
He embodies his philosophy and his knowledge and his martial arts, and you will just get better around him. But that might not happen with someone who's had a bad experience with martial arts and is just annoyed about it and bitter and jaded. You hang around them, you don't really get their knowledge, right? So the third level of knowledge is when you embody the knowledge and it's in you, and people can pick it up through osmosis. And the fourth level of knowledge is relational knowledge. So this is when you know it so well and you embody it that you're able to relate it to other fields, other unrelated things. Like Bruce Lee could take his martial arts and relate it to business or life philosophy or something. He could apply the same principles. He'd see how they correlate and overlap. It would be just natural for him to see martial arts everywhere in everything. Or for a marketer, a talented marketer, they would start to see how marketing affects relationships and intimacy and family dynamics and stuff. And they would start to see martial arts everywhere. So they're not just talking about it, and they're not just experiencing it, and they're not just embodying it. They are relating it to life, to everything.
Right.
And it's a very impressive level of knowledge. They're not just stuck to one narrow field. They get good at something or learn something or know something, and then they apply that to a whole bunch of other things.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. And then the final level of knowledge is divine knowledge. This is like soul knowledge. This is like how a baby knows where its mom is from miles away or something, or a cat knows how to come home or whatever. And you're like, what is this? This is some miraculous feat. Or some kidnapped child breaks free from their kidnapper and frees themselves and impresses the whole society or something. It's like divine knowledge. It's like world-class record-setting knowledge that almost no one could avoid being impressed by.
So for marketing, that would be Bernays.
Yeah. Edward Bernays has this soul knowledge of propaganda. Like he invented PR. Like it's just nuts, right?
Yes.
You couldn't learn this from someone else. You couldn't, like back in his time, there was no resources for this, but he just knew it.
Yeah. Or
some chess grandmaster, Magnus Carlsen or something. Like, what is this? Who are you? Or Buddha or some like prodigy child or something.
Yeah.
Someone really talented at their craft or whatever. You don't mess with these people, because when they say, I know XYZ, they know XYZ.
Yeah.
Like, just do not, man.
Yeah. That's how I feel about you when it comes to like rising up and changing and learning. Like there's no topic I couldn't bring to you that you couldn't tell me. You're amazing.
Thank you. You're amazing. Right. So once you understand the 5 levels of knowledge, now you're set. Now you are empowered, because now you can pinpoint where you're at with your New Year's resolution or with anything you're telling someone else. If you tell someone else, I want a new job, where are you at with your knowing?
Oh.
Is this an intellectual level of knowing? Have you experienced it and you've like tried another job and you got a feel for it and you want to go back? Like, is it experiential knowing? Is it embodiment knowing? Like you could teach someone else about this topic, about switching jobs or job searches or when to find another job or whatever. Is it relational knowing, where you could apply this to any want or goal, not just job hunting? Or is it divine knowledge, where you are some kind of instinctual animal, like of divine soulful knowing about job choices, right? Where is your knowing? Like what level is your knowing? Or if you tell someone, I know how to swim, like Bruce Lee level knowing, Olympic level swimming, like what are we talking about here? World class? Or like, are you a living dolphin? Are you Michael Phelps? Have you warped the sport for decades to come because your knowledge is so...
Right.
Or I've been thinking about getting in the water. I don't know. I should probably swim. Like where people need to know. You tell someone you want to break up. I want to break up. Really? Intellectually? Or you have experience and you know this is not the right relationship for you? Where's your knowing? are you embodying that? You've already like broken up and you're living it, etc. Are you relating this to other topics, like how you would break up with an environment that didn't suit you, or you would break up with a religion that didn't suit you? Are you like very far along? Is it divine knowledge? Like you just know in your soul, this is the time right now.
Right.
Most people don't do this. They just intellectually know they want something. And that's as far as they've gotten.
I think there's a step before that too.
There probably is.
The intellectual, there's just that I feel like the feeling before they even intellectually.
Yeah, there could be a sixth level.
You know?
Yeah, there could be a sixth level where I feel like I want something.
Yeah. Yeah.
And this isn't even a level of knowledge. Like, this is like a negative level of knowledge.
Yeah. Yes.
It's like you don't know anything. This is like a child just flailing about, grasping at straws. Like,
yeah, like I feel like I want to watch a movie, but I feel like I could also go for a walk. Like this kind of, it's not an intellectual. It's not an intellectual knowing. It's maybe kind of feeling maybe. So
yeah, I love that. Maybe there's a sixth level of knowledge. I mean, it's a spectrum. There could be a million levels.
Of course.
I'm just outlining something basic so people can start to get a feel for how they know things. Most people go through life, I know this, I know that, I know X, I know Y, I want this, I know what I want, I know what I do, I know what I love. It's like most of it is intellectual knowledge or bad experience knowledge. Mm-hmm. These are not good levels of knowledge, and you don't know shit. Like, and this is why you're going to end up lying to people. You don't know who you are or what you want. Most people don't. To really know it, you need to be on those higher levels of knowledge. Like, you got to go through some shit, not read a book or had a bad experience. This is not knowledge. I mean, it is, but it's a joke, right?
Agreed.
And if you spot anyone who has that level of knowledge, then you know what you're dealing with. Like, they're going to lie to you.
Yes.
And I've been burned many times because I have fairly deep levels of knowledge of the things that I talk about. And I'm fairly good at communicating those things correctly so that I don't lie to others. But because I do that, I end up projecting or expecting other people to do the same thing. And so when they say, I know X, Y, or Z, I assume they mean I know it on an embodied level, or I know it on a relational level, or I know it on a divine level, because that's how I know most of my stuff. Like, I don't really want to settle for intellectual knowing or experiential knowing. I at least want embodied knowing. And so, I mean, this is my mistake and my bad, and I deserve to get whatever negative consequences that come from it. But expecting others to also know things that way and taking them at their word, could be a mistake, because not everybody knows things the same way. And when they say they know something, they might mean something totally different.
Okay, so then how can we tell? Like, is there some clue that we can get from these people who there's couples out there trying to figure stuff out, and their partner saying, I know I want this, when they don't. So is there a clue or something?
Unfortunately not. Like, you just got to become more aware and more detailed and more attentive. You got to become like a detective. Ask more questions. So if someone says, I know marketing, I could be like, oh, yeah. Because when I say I know marketing, I mean that I know it. And if someone else is saying it, I can assume they're like me if I want.
Yes.
Or I could be better. I could be wiser. I could be more of a detective. And I could ask questions to see what level of knowledge they have. For example, someone says, I know marketing, and I say to them, okay, if I gave you product X and 30 days, what would be your plan to market that? And then listen. Someone intellectual they're going to be frozen, or they'll parrot something from a book.
Yes.
Someone from experience will be like, oh, 30 days isn't enough time. I've had bad experiences with that. Someone who has taught this to others might say, well, I'm not sure I'm talented enough to do it in 30 days, but with some concessions, we could probably work something out, right? They would do some kind of teaching thing.
Yes.
Consulting kind of response.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Someone might say, well, I've already done that with product Y and product Z in other industries. And I've done it in my own personal life, which you might not see as marketing, but I've actually can draw the parallels and blah, 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 blah. And it's just like, all right, dude, holy.
Yes.
You're clearly up for the challenge. Yes. And the divine person might say something like, they might spit out some creative campaign that you hear it and you're just like, well, that's going viral. This is the best marketing I've ever heard, because it's divine world-class knowledge. So there's the 5 levels of knowledge, and they show up with 5 different responses or answers, all from one question because you bothered to be a detective and not take them at face value. And I'm not saying that's how it always goes. You might have to ask more questions and they might offer different answers and so on and so forth.
Sure.
But generally, you can vibe it out. You can get a feel for things. This is why people can tell when they found a good doctor, a good dentist, good mechanic, their favorite artist, their favorite musician. They can just sort of tell when someone knows their shit. And they do it through interactions or like consuming their materials or detective work or asking questions, etc.
Right.
And if they find some flake who's faking it or posing, then they'll just be like, oh yeah, they were lying the whole time. Like they don't really know what they're talking about.
Right. But you find that out through questions.
Yeah. And through work.
Through work. Yeah.
So you can't be lazy. I've been lazy many times with people.
Same.
Because I believe, I just like taking people at face value. I like believing what people say. I like the delusion that people know what they want and know who they are and will broadcast that to me the same way I do to others. But yeah, that's terrible. Like, it's not a great way to proceed.
Yeah, I totally feel you.
Yeah, so I hope that answers your question. The number one reason why people lie to themselves and others is because they don't understand the levels of knowledge and they don't understand where they're at on any given topic with the levels of knowledge. And the number one reason we get tricked and think people know more than they do or know less than they do is because we also don't know the levels of knowledge and we're not being a detective with the levels of knowledge when someone tells us they know something or want something or intend something.
Right. All right. Well, I'm a marketer and I know some marketing. And so now I'm going to give you some marketing with our book, Eyes Wide Open, Volume 1. It's the world's first self-help coffee table book, and it's yours for free in a PDF form. Just go to eyeswideopenfree.com or click the link in the description. It's full of amazing and wonderful concepts that I use to help change my entire life and that Jay helped himself get out of homelessness. He put it all in this book for you. So don't lie to yourself about how amazing this book is. It really is great. So go and download your free copy. Or if you love us and you want to support us, go buy an actual copy so you can hold it up on camera too. Don't be jealous. So I got a Bachelor's of Arts degree from university that told me that I was a great marketer. They told me I had all the knowledge. They didn't teach me levels of knowledge, but they told me I had all the knowledge to go out there and be a great marketer. But they lied to me because they really taught me nothing about actual marketing. So was I lying to myself when I got my degree to be a marketer, or was the uni lying to me that they gave me the skills so I could go out and be a marketer?
Yeah, it's a good question. And in light of the levels of knowledge we just learned about, you can hopefully now tell me, right? Did the university know about the levels of knowledge when they proclaimed that you were good?
No.
So they didn't know if you understood it intellectually. They didn't know if you understood it experientially. They didn't know if you embodied it. They didn't know if you had relational knowledge of this in other areas. And they certainly didn't know if it was divine marketing knowledge.
No, they only cared if I knew it intellectually so that I could answer do the tests and write the papers to get my degree.
Right. But if you apprenticed with an actual marketer out in the field, and you guys were experiencing it together, would that marketer be satisfied with you checking a box or answering a fill in the blank on a quiz? Or would they only be satisfied if you also demonstrated marketing experience just like they taught you?
No, they wanted demonstration.
Right. So a lot of times apprenticeships and learning a trade, or having a mentor, or being on the job is seen as superior knowledge.
Yeah. So when I was there, I volunteered at the hospital marketing department so I could learn something because I felt like something was missing at uni.
Did you actually market something?
So no, I worked with others on campaigns, but the results, like, they had nothing to do with me. I just wanted to get some experience for my resume, but even that wasn't enough at the time.
Right. But that's like working in a swimming coach's department, watching them swim from the booth, but not actually swimming yourself.
Yeah.
Right. If they wanted you to learn marketing, they should have had you market something from scratch.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Just like if you want to learn swimming, they put you in the pool and let you do some laps.
Yeah, the projects I had were not going to give me that experience.
I know. So I'm saying, did the university lie to you about what you knew simply because they don't know the levels of knowledge?
Yes. So if they don't know the levels of knowledge, they don't know how I'm supposed to know it past taking the test and writing the papers.
And they'll be satisfied with intellectual.
Right. And so I graduated with a 4.0 with honors, and that was good enough for them. Like, that was good enough for them that I had enough knowledge to go out there and be a marketer. But all the marketers disagree at the time. So
yeah. And then for you, in your case, did you know the levels of knowledge back then?
No.
Right. So when someone tells you you know marketing and you pass the marketing quiz or test and they say you know marketing and intellectually you think, yeah, I guess I do. It beats saying I don't know it.
Yeah.
Right. A lot of people will intellectually know something and then they'll proudly claim that they know something because it beats saying I don't really know it and I don't have experience with it and I don't know it well enough. Yes. So I'll just take the win. I now know this intellectually. I know of it. I know about it. I've studied it. I took a course in it. So I know it. Yeah. That's likely for you to do.
Right. And back then I was definitely not on about ever saying, I don't know the answer. I don't have enough information. I don't know. I haven't actually done it. When people would ask about my degree is actually in communication, which is a part of marketing, right? And so I actually wasn't the greatest communicator after that.
Well, that's why you ended up lying to your mom.
Right. And to myself and to others. And so it's interesting. But anytime someone questioned my abilities or whatever, I threw out my degree. Yeah, but I have a degree. I spent 7 years at uni and I have a degree for it.
Yeah.
You know,
this is like saying I know something on an intellectual level. So la-di-da.
Yeah.
And it's like, that's the worst knowledge level. Or maybe I'm getting a feeling or something.
That one, I think.
I feel like dinner or
I
feel like not. But my point is, it's a really low level of knowledge. And someone who has that level of knowledge probably shouldn't be saying they know anything.
Yeah.
But the most they should be saying is, I know of it. I know some things around the topic.
Or I've studied it.
Yeah, I've studied it.
And
I've looked into it.
Yes. I've taken to use that phrase actually when I'm working on something I'm working on this, I'm studying this, I'm learning about this, instead of I know this.
Yeah.
Because then it makes me sound like I know that on a deeper level.
And people will believe you and then you'll lie to them and they'll feel lied to and you'll be in a position where you have to market something and you can't and yada, yada, yada.
Yes.
It's like, just avoid it all by saying, I'm studying this. And ideally, if you catch yourself saying, I'm studying something too often, you really should switch to practicing. If your answer to everyone is always, oh, I'm studying it. It's like, well, then maybe you should practice it. So you can get out of intellectual knowledge and get into experiential knowledge. And once you've practiced it, maybe you should practice it more so that you can embody it and be a role model for it and teach others it and so on. And once you've done that, maybe you should relate it to other areas of life, like really get into the nuts and bolts and the philosophy and the abstracts and the concepts of the topic. And so now you have relational knowledge of the topic and you can bring it to whatever career or pivot you do next. You can bring your wisdom from the other discipline. And once you have that, maybe aim to elevate that knowledge to divine knowledge where you're world-class Olympic level transforming the game. And you don't have to do all that, but settling for intellectual knowledge on anything is sketchy because then you might as well not even know it.
True.
You're as useful as someone who doesn't know it.
Yeah, it's a good point. All right. Well, thank you.
I almost prefer someone who's ignorant of it because at least they'll admit they're ignorant of it.
Yeah.
Or no, I never heard of it. Right? At least I get an honest answer.
Yeah.
Someone who's studied it isn't going to tell me that. They're not going to give me the honest answer. I only know this and I'm basically useless with it. Instead, they're going to say, oh yeah, I know it.
Yeah.
Well, now I'm screwed. At least someone who doesn't know it doesn't even know enough to lie about it and pretend to know it.
Yeah. So, Rise Rebels, please share in the comments the truth. What do you have intellectual knowledge about? What do you have
experiential knowledge
of? And what do you have
embodied knowledge
of? And what do you have divine knowledge about? Let's talk about it. I'd love to hear. Or maybe you're like me, off camera, I said to Jay, I don't think I have divine knowledge about anything. But he was like, no, you have this, this, and this. So maybe you're like me and you think you're dumb and don't have those, but we all do. So let's talk about it. Let's share in the comments. I really want to know what you think and where you're at on the levels of knowledge and also how you feel about it. Thank you so much. You are awesome. That was great. Like the levels of knowledge. I mean, I knew some of that, but it was really good. It was really helpful. Thank you. Okay, Jay. So then is there any point to people making resolutions or learning new things if they're just going to lie to themselves?
That is a very good question. And I just finished saying that intellectual knowledge is the worst and it just makes people lie to me. And I almost prefer the ignorant people because at least they don't lie to me and steer me wrong. But the levels of knowledge are kind of a graduating scale. Like you kind of have to get one level to get the other, to get the other, to get the other. Maybe not always, but that's generally how it goes. You're going to go through that process. So if someone's ignorant of swimming, would it really be so bad if they started running around saying, you know what? I know swimming. I know front crawl. I know breaststroke. I know whatever. Because even if they're wrong and they don't know, when they get in the water and they struggle, it's a wake-up call for them. And they realize I don't really know the thing that I've been claiming to know. And so what does that make them want to do?
Learn more.
Exactly. If your kids are running around saying, I know how to drive, and they don't know how to drive, aren't you just happy they know about driving and that they're putting it out into the world, that they know it?
Kind of, yeah.
Because you know they're eventually going to get experience and learn to drive, and then they'll realize they didn't really know how to drive. So you're sort of okay with it. Do you get what I'm saying?
Yes, that happened to me. So yes.
Right. Well, when we met, you claimed to know marketing. And I'm like, okay, all right, honey.
I have a degree.
And how did I treat you? Like a child. No offense.
No, yeah.
Fine. You know it. Let's see your stuff. Let's get in the water. Let's show me your chops. Yes. And I knew that you would eventually learn and get real experience. Fast or slow, you're going to get it. Right?
Right. Yeah.
But if I hated on your intellectual knowledge and I hated on your proclamation that you know this, then would you ever get experience? Would we end up doing this project?
Oh, that's a great question. No.
Right.
No.
So you would never graduate to experiential knowledge or graduate to embodied knowledge.
Right. No.
Same with this child talking about swimming. If they get too much hate, they might just be like, whatever, and avoid the pool and avoid the topic and still claim they know it, but they're never going to go further than that because they didn't get in the pool and get experiential knowledge. They didn't embody the knowledge, right?
Right.
So yes, we all lie to ourselves when we say we know X, Y, and Z, but also that first step of lying to ourselves is kind of important.
It's necessary to move down.
I don't think it's necessary. I think you could just say, I'm studying this and now I'm practicing this and now I'm experiencing this and now I'm teaching this to others. You could just use the appropriate language and then you wouldn't lie. But if people want to use I know or I want or I'm going to do when they're not supposed to and they only know it intellectually or they only want it intellectually, it's still a step, you know, it's still them getting onto the knowledge scale.
Yeah.
And it's going to be a longer journey with more self-lies and more lying to others before they finally get experience and real knowledge. But at least they're on the path.
Yeah. Okay.
And it might be really slow if they're stubborn and keep claiming they know something that they don't, et cetera, et cetera. But at least they're on the path.
All right. That's good.
So if someone says they want more money on an intellectual level, if you're a good detective, you'll spot it and you'll know that they're not really ready to experience more money. They're not going to change their life to get more money. They're not going to do the things that it takes to get more money. They're not going to change their outlook or attitude or opinion or agenda or anything to get more money. They just intellectually know they want more money. By the same token, if you go to hire a new staff and they're like, I'm really excited to work here and I can't wait to get promoted, and then you see them hustle and they're living what they speak and they're outshining everybody and they're the best staff you've ever had and they're doing it all even after probation ends and they don't have to impress anybody anymore, you sort of know they embody this knowledge, or maybe it's even divine knowledge. But when they say they want more money and they're looking to get promoted, it's clear. It's not an intellectual knowing at all, especially compared to the other person who's like, oh yeah, I want more money, and they don't make a single change.
Right.
You can see where people's wants are at, right?
Right.
how well they know themselves and know but you also know that they're on a journey, and you might not want to hang around these people while they're in their intellectual knowing phase. You might want to revisit them when they know more and they have experience and they are embodying it, but at least you know what you're getting yourself into.
Or even if they're in the intellectual stage, that they're taking action to get to the next stage. They're moving it forward. They're doing things that shows that they're not just learning and learning and learning and learning. They are applying and they're doing and they're out there making moves.
Yeah, and even that can be tricky because sometimes they'll do just enough to trick you.
Well, yeah.
Are they waking up and doing it morning till night to get the experience faster than anybody?
Right.
Or are they doing one little thing a day in a busy day full of other things just so they can tell you at the end of the day they did something? Like,
yeah, I did that too.
Whatever. Some of us still do it.
Fair enough. Well, this was incredibly helpful for me personally, and hopefully for our wonderful and amazing audience. Rise Rebels, please share in the comments what you think. Are you ready to admit that you're a liar too? It's okay, because I am also.
Me too.
We all lie. Like, this is how it is. We lie to ourselves, we lie to others, but we can change it and we can be better. And that's why we're doing this podcast. So thank you so much for your time, for your help, for your insights and perspective. I love you so much. You're incredible. You're such a smart and amazing person with completely different view than anyone else I've ever met. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you. It was a great topic. You always have the best topics.
Thanks. And yeah, like most of these topics come from our real life, and you're seeing my journey in real time along with you. So I just have one last question. Do you have any final thoughts that you'd like to share with our amazing audience?
Yes. If you want to lie to yourself and others less, if you want to know yourself more, practice the levels of knowledge. Spot when you are just intellectually knowing something versus when you really truly know it with a track record or beyond. And getting good with that will also help you spot when others are lying to you or lying to themselves, intentionally or not. And truly understanding and being able to apply the levels of knowledge when you're interacting with anyone is a game changer. It's one of the best life skills you could ever have. You'll learn to stop getting tricked and swindled and scammed. You'll learn to stop believing people when you shouldn't. You'll learn to communicate your wants and needs and knowledge correctly and well. You'll avoid awkward mind changes at the last minute. Your life will just be better. You'll just be a better human, better to deal with, getting better results in every single way. I can't stress this enough. Huge blessing to have this skill. And I'm sure you're already getting it just from listening. You got this. I believe in you.
And that's why our book and this podcast are called Eyes Wide Open. After today, you know that everyone is a damn liar, including you. And that's okay. But now you can go watch this video here called Is Lying Okay? To help you keep your eyes wide open.
Keep rising.